Scott, it's infuriating to me because over 49,000 people have now been diagnosed with a 9/11 cancer. Over 9,000 people have died of 9/11 cancers. Civilians were exposed to the same toxins as first responders, and not surprisingly, they're coming down with the same illnesses. They're dying of the same illnesses.
Michael, just recently Congress passed a bill. Why is this such a significant milestone?
Finally, Congress did the right thing and provided full funding for the World Trade Center Health Program. This means that they won't have to stop taking new patients in 2027, that the entire 9/11 community is guaranteed free World Trade Center Health Program screenings for the rest of their lives. Register even if you're currently healthy.
My friends, you owe it to yourself to see if you qualify. 911awards.com. 911awards with an S.com. Barish and McGarry, they are the lawyers for the 9/11 community.
10-10 win.
I just leave it on all day.
I drive 45 minutes to work, and so I listen to in the morning.
You have to trust your news sources because otherwise you don't know what's true.
10-10 wins on 92.3 FM. Right now, a bit of sunshine through the clouds, 72 degrees, on our way up to a high of 78. We're also tracking a bit of rain on the radar. We'll have a couple of showers around, even a thunderstorm in a few spots this afternoon as well. Time now for Bloomberg Money Watch.
Kevin, optimism about getting out of the war in Iran soon is still pushing stocks higher on Wall Street. Right now, the Dow's up 406 points, Nasdaq's up 286, and the S&P's up about 60 points. Oil is also lower, with crude hovering around $100 a barrel. New report out today shows U.S. retail sales rebounded by more than forecast in February, up 0.6% after consumers stepped up spending after a slow start to the year. And Hershey's announced today that it's changing the way it makes some of its chocolate. It's shifting to pure chocolate ingredients in about 3% of its products, including some Reese's. It's also switching up its Kit Kat recipe. I'm Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Or are you daydreaming about meat again? You bet. I just upgraded my setup with the Chef IQ mini oven, and it is a total game changer. So now you got the Chef IQ Sense Smart Meat Thermometer and the mini oven. That thermometer's already a legend and wirelessly tracks your meat and sends alerts to your phone when it's cooked to perfection. That's absolutely right, Gio. Every piece of meat, fish, or poultry comes out exactly the way you want it, guaranteed. Tomahawk steak at medium rare, USDA safe juicy chicken, it all comes out perfect every time.
How you doing? Morning. Yes.
The winning team that is cooking stress-free, perfect meals by using the Chef IQ Sense thermometer and mini oven today. These are amazing products at amazing values. Just go to chefiq.com. And don't forget to use the code word BOOMER for big savings at checkout. That's code word BOOMER at chefiq.com.
You don't hear the radio. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. CRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2523. So, CRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available to give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmares today by visiting us online at CRA.com or call 800-575-2523. That's 800-575-2523. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Veteran and active duty service members. When your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. An elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those qualified.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband Ryan was a healthy 44-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had life insurance. Ebook made it so easy. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. 100% online, no medical exam. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us space to just breathe.
Get your free quote at ebook.com/music. ebook.com/music.
thunderstorm as we get late in the day. We get to a high of 78 in the city. With news time, 11:01. Let's get you ready to go. And here's Sarah Stewart.
Van Wyck on the northbound side is really tied up from Rockaway Boulevard to Atlantic Avenue. And we've got southbound delays into Atlantic, but we're not stop and go. We've got this eastbound LIE accident at Lakeville Road still not cleared. The delays go back to Springfield Boulevard in Queens. Southern state looks good despite construction, and the northern state is in very good shape. Over on BQE, inbound off the Gowanus, we are delayed out of the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, getting onto the Prospect Expressway. And inbound, the only delay we've got is between the Brooklyn Battery and Atlantic Avenue, and that ain't bad. Westbound BQE delayed because you're still. And then we've got slowdowns from Flushing Avenue into Atlantic Avenue in that direction. As we check what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels, the outbound Georgia 40 from the Cross Bronx West, take the Henry Hudson Parkway, and on the outbound George Upper, there's a disabled tractor trailer, and on the outbound George Lower, there's construction. The inbound George is 20 to 25, the Holland is 20 minutes, and the Lincoln is 15. And over at the Queensbound Whitestone, you still have an accident blocking the lane. You might want to stick with the Trogneck, although honestly the Whitestone is not bad. Karen Stewart, 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
New Yorkers are getting ready for the spring weather with the return of outdoor dining today for the season.
So this young man moved to New York City for work from New Zealand just prior to COVID and says outdoor dining has been a big part of his daily routine.
I mean, I agree that it's better to do it more like in a European city where you just have the whole street or the whole boulevard is pedestrianized as much as you can, and then you don't have to worry about cars either.
But among those taking part outdoors, T.S. Kitchen, West 48th, their GM Jeff Lapadula.
The way it sort of seems to be working is when one or two restaurants do it on the block, the other restaurants feel a little more pressure to participate.
And they're hoping with FIFA and other major events this summer, they're going to do really well. Glenn Shuck, 1010 wins, 92.3 FM.
Police are investigating a deadly double shooting early this morning in Queens, an incident that sources say may have been a murder-suicide. The call came in just before 2 a.m. at a home on 84th Street in Jackson Heights. Cops say they found a 20-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman, both with gunshot wounds in the head. The female victim also suffered shots to her torso and abdomen. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation is ongoing, but for now, sources say the incident appears to be domestic in nature, possibly a murder-suicide. No arrests have been made. Luigi Mangione is back in federal court today, hoping the judge will agree to adjust his trial schedule.
Luigi Mangione and his legal team will be back inside of the courtroom asking the judge if they can move his state murder trial along with his federal trial. The court calendar currently has his New York State murder trial scheduled for this June, with the federal trial expected to begin in 2026. In a letter written to the judge, Mangione's legal team called this a, quote, impossible situation, as they expect preparing for his state and federal trials will collide. The defense is pushing to have the federal trial moved to January of 2027, with the state trial moved back to September 8th. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM, outside federal court.
Cops are searching for the three people behind a violent robbery on the subway yesterday. It happened around 3 a.m. on an uptown E-train near the Grand Avenue subway station in Elmhurst, Queens. Police say the three attacked a 37-year-old man and pulled the headphones right off his head. When the crew got off the train, the victim followed, trying to retrieve his stolen headphones, and that's what police say. The three started punching and kicking him. He is expected to recover. Meanwhile, the trio fled on another uptown E-train. An investigation is ongoing. As the war in Iran shows no signs of ending, President Trump says he's considering pulling the U.S. out of NATO, taking serious issue of what the president sees as a lack of support by member countries for this war. He tells the Telegraph he refers to on NATO, and U.S. withdrawal was quote beyond his consideration.
Take care.
They got recycled.
It's on the left side.
Jewish employees on campus.
The Trump administration says it asked for those names and numbers as part of its investigation into anti-Semitism at the school. Many Jewish students and faculty members likened the subpoena from the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to a Nazi pact. The judge ruled the administration was within its rights to find anyone within the Jewish community who may have experienced or witnessed anti-Semitism and gave the university until May 1st to hand over the list, and said it doesn't keep a list of employees and students by religion.
Correspondent Michael Wallace. If you're thinking about going to graduate school, a new study finds that some of the most popular advanced degrees may not be worth the money spent.
Advanced degrees in social work and psychology may have a 0 to negative return on the financial investment, while advanced medicine, law, and pharmacy degrees show the highest return. That's the finding of a new study from researchers at American University.
That's correspondent Jim Pursuit. Other reports of the students who earn a medical doctorate, they're earning close to triple. Similar story to those with pharmacy, even accounting for the cost of education. In contrast, there will be a modest increase for advanced degrees in fields like architecture and certain kinds of engineering. And, as you heard there, no gains for psychology or social work. The report's author said the message here is that students should be given better information about which aspects of their society have been affected. And new research from the University of Massachusetts Amherst finds that a big chunk of permafrost in northern Alaska is thawing. Study author Michael Wallace says that thawing is allowing iron to run off into rivers. It's turning rivers ponds into bursting rivers.
And this is an element of permafrost fall that is adversely impacting water quality.
The study analyzed an area the size of Wisconsin and makes all of the rivers run red and green into the Arctic Ocean. That research is published in the journal Global Biogeographical Cycle. We've got some nice sunny skies right now. It's 74 degrees in Manhattan. We could see some rain as we get later into the day. We get to a high of 78 in the city. Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by Nancy.
$1.2 billion for the EV maker. Uber announced it's going to purchase 10,000 fully autonomous electric vehicles with an option for another 40,000. The Rivian R2 robotaxis are scheduled to be available in 2028, with Uber launching the service in San Francisco and Miami before expanding to other markets. Atlantic Zero running the business is hard. And sometimes a little help. That's why we find this. With our exclusive AI lending platform, connecting you to over 100 vendors. If you've been in business for at least 2 years with a minimum annual revenue of $500,000, you can get up to $1 million in funding in as fast as 24 hours. No collateral, no prepayment penalties, no red tape. Apply today with no cost or obligation at Nancy.com. That's all LTCO.com. Founder of Palace Law. Hank is walking on the sidewalk when he fell into an empty tree well and broke his hip. The private landlord denied liability, stating that it was the city's tree. Harris Law got him $400,000. I'll tell you how right after this. Have you been a victim of negligence or malpractice? Harris Law, New York's premier injury law firm, is a tough, dedicated legal team that will fight to get you the compensation you deserve. Call 212-593-7600 or visit HarrisLawNYC.com. At Harris Law, we commission historic map searches going back 20 years. We were able to prove that although this particular tree was indeed planted by the city, it was removed by the landlord. That's how we proved negligence, and that's how we got him $400,000. Call Harris Law today, 212-593-7600 or HarrisLawNYC.com. The consultation is free. The compensation could be millions.
We want to say congratulations to Brianda Laughlin. She's the winner of a pair of Mets tickets. Your chance to win happens weekday mornings after a Mets game between 10:30 and 11 a.m. on 1010 Win at 92.3 FM.
And the outbound towards the cross was 40. So you're going to scratch that idea and take the Henry Hudson Parkway. Plus the outbound towards Upper has disabled tractor trailer over. And the outbound towards Lower has construction. So Lincoln 15, the Holland 3, and the westbound White Cambridge has 9.6, New Jersey. Northbound New Jersey Turnpike trucks down to 13A for Elizabeth. There's a crash there in the fast lane. The cars instead. Northbound Garden City Parkway, north of 135 in Clark. There's an accident there. Delayed. We have Jackson is in the right and center lane. As we check, Long Island is still on the Street. South LIE is crashing 3rd Street for Lakeville Road. Still not clear. The place go back to Springfield Boulevard. Westbound 7th State between 17 and 15. There is construction in the west lane. And the northern state is in, well, not even fairly good shape. Really good shape, actually. Karen Stewart, 10 winds at 92.3 FM.
Every day we fight to preserve wildlife. Keep our water and air safe to advance clean energy and combat climate change. We're Earth Justice, a national legal nonprofit fighting for your right to a healthy environment. Want to join us in this fight? Go to earthjustice.org.
Let's get a check now of our 10-10 wind to Accu Weather Forecast. Good weather there. Looking fairly cloudy at the moment, but we're going to have both clouds and sun across the area this afternoon. And it's going to stay breezy and warm as well. Not quite as warm as yesterday. We got to 81 degrees. There'll also be a shower or thunderstorm in some places through the early evening, but we do get up to about 78. Tonight, then, we'll see a couple of showers moving in. We'll have a breezy, cooler night with a low of 48, and then it stays in the 40s tomorrow. In fact, temperatures are going to be trending downward with a little rain and drizzle at times, progressing the scale much colder. On Friday, we're still seeing to start with a bit of drizzle, but then it warms up again with some sun and sun. We'll dry out with a high of 67 in the city. It'll make it to the low 70s for some New Jersey suburbs. We'll just stay in the 60s across much of Long Island. We're still going to have quite a difference on Saturday, though it is warming up everywhere. We'll have some sun and a chance for a shower. We can reach about 75 in the city, but could get as high as 80 in some New Jersey suburbs. It'll stay much cooler, though, likely in the 50s, maybe 60s along the south shore of Long Island and in coastal Connecticut. Clouds in 74 going up to 78. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Heather there on New York's weather station, 10-10 winds on 92.3 FM. We're just hours away from NASA's first mission to the moon in half a century. New Yorkers are taking in the historic moment and imagine what they choose to do themselves if given the opportunity to do it.
A trip to the moon was a no-brainer for Melissa and Kelly, who said she'd bring her pop. I feel like she would love me no matter what happened on the moon. And a vacation to the moon would be awesome as long as I can take all my books. How about you? Yes, if Michael B. Jordan was to come with. We gotta recalculate the moon. Astronauts will travel 685 million miles during their 10-day mission that will not include a moon landing. Marlo Diamond, 10-10 wins on 92.3 FM in Times Square.
The launch window opens tonight at 6:24 p.m. and we will keep you updated on any developments.
I'm Congresswoman Nellie Cobb. I know people and families across our community are feeling the high cost of healthcare, groceries, energy bills, and other necessities. You deserve a fair shot. My office is here to help you access what's yours, from federal programs to veterans benefit and Social Security. We're here to help. If you have any questions, visit pou.house.gov. My team is here to serve you.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
This is Laura Benelli, president of LifePath, with an important public safety message. Choking is one of the leading causes of accidental death in the United States, especially for children and seniors. In a choking emergency, seconds matter. LifePath is a portable airway cleaning solution. Traditional methods fail. Learn how to be prepared. Visit lifepath.net and use the code RADIO for a 10% discount. That's lifepath.net. Megan Thee Stallion will not perform today in Moulin Rouge on Broadway.
also now have a trade-in program where you can bring in old electronics like phones, laptops, tablets, and smartwatches, and get money back on a Costco shopping. Depending on the device and the condition, payouts could go up to about $3,500 for a laptop. But even older phones and tablets could still get used for money. So here's how it works. You go online, answer a few questions about your device, press the ticket logo, send it in, and once you receive it, you can create a digital card you can use it for. A lot of people have old electronics sitting in a drawer and not money just sitting there. Experts say billions of dollars in devices are just sitting in digital cards unused. So this new is a way to use old electronics. VIN New York.
New York City story in our voice.
I'm New York, and I'm Ashley Rivers on your home for 24/7 news at Black Information Hour. There are still security checkpoint wait times at some airports nationwide as TSA workers are starting to receive paychecks. Some work for about a month and a half without pay. Officials say most got paid Monday after President Trump's orders, despite the partial government shutdown continuing. However, Black Atlanta TSA Union President Aaron Baker told Atlanta his check was short. And I think it's because the issue is just too big and the uncertainty is too big, and it's because it's geopolitical and it's Iran and there's uncertainty there. But if you take that out of the equation and we get certainty there, I do think you'll start seeing, money pouring back into the markets, and I think it'll go where it was going before the pullback, which will be these, absolutely beat up AI names and quantum computing, AI infrastructure. But answering your question a little bit more specifically with Defiance, we've seen the flows into JEDI, which is a modern warfare ETF, right? So investors, and those single stocks have seen flows too, right? So investors are looking at things like Crossholds, Ava, Elbit systems, things like this, just the future of modern warfare, the idea that you have 2,000 drones instead of one giant missile, the power of information decision making, and flows of something's on there. The performance will take time, but yeah, and we haven't lost those really. So I think some investors are staying put, they're selling Max 7, and they're not in play cash. All right, Sylvia Jablonski is CEO and CIO of Defiance ETF. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on the markets. We do have a red headline once again. Eli Lilly's weight loss pill, Windio, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly because all these pharmaceutical names are difficult to pronounce. It gets U.S. approval. So once again, Eli Lilly's weight loss pill, remember,
trial we lost just this morning. Lindsay Dutch is our consumer hardlines senior analyst at Bloomberg Intelligence, and she joins us now. So this is very much a play on the consumer and a higher end consumer as well. Lindsay, what do we know about RH and the outlook it's given?
Hi, Paul. Hi, Scarlett. Thanks for having me. So RH missed both on the top and the bottom line when we looked at fourth quarter earnings, but I think worse is when we look at this year, the outlook was well below expectations, including expecting a sales decline in the first quarter. That kind of tells me between the miss and the bad look for first quarter that demand has really dropped, and they're really going to count on a big spike in the back half of the year with the new collection coming to sort of drive that growth heading into 27. But the first half of the year certainly looks challenged.
Lindsay, how much of this, when we talk to you about your company, that's one of the questions I always have. How much of this is industry-wide versus company-specific here?
Yeah, so for RH, I do think that it is a company-specific story. When you look back at last year, they did grow sales 8%. That's pretty impressive in the environment that they were playing in. That is above the peer average, but they do play to a very niche customer, and they are striving to be a luxury brand. And their moves to make waves in that space, do cost a lot of money. They're investing very heavily. They're opening galleries all over the globe. And I think that there's just a lot of disappointment in this coming year that growth might slow again. And their long-term targets are well out of reach.
And I'm just looking at Wayfair. Those stocks are modestly lower. Ethan Allen Interiors modestly higher, so I'm not sure there's much of a read-through to some of the other furniture companies that are out there. But Lindsay, how much are tariffs a part of this story for RH?
Yeah, so tariffs have played a piece here. They cost about 190 basis points in margin in the fourth quarter. Their guidance is kind of including a similar hit for this coming year. The bigger thing for this year, as I mentioned, is tremendous investment going into the business. They're expecting erosion in their margin again this year. Investors aren't liking that. They've kind of missed their profit goals for the past year or so, and we're looking at another year of heavy investment pressure on the margin, even if we see some of that tariff cost come down a bit. But it's definitely a factor. They've also talked about, significantly moving their sourcing around, which is part of the slowdown in that first quarter, reworking that, and they might have a little bit of a less product to sell until we get later into the year.
Lindsay, what are they doing with e-commerce? I'm going to find it so comfortable their e-commerce strategy. How's that going?
Yeah, so e-commerce is a very small piece of their business. The openings that they're looking at doing, in Paris and Milan, they are really leaning into that experiential in person, feel it, and really understand the quality. On growing that online presence, they really much want their customer to come into the store and see the product, and they're willing to invest to do that.
All right, Lindsay Dutch, consumer hardline senior analyst with Bloomberg Intelligence, giving us a read-through on RH Restoration Hardware, down 24% in today's trading. I love that question because it goes to the idea that all these digital native companies, at the end of the day, it comes full circle. People still want to see, touch, and feel whether it's something they want to buy.
Yes, and we've heard from some retail folks, I think it was Premier Weston saying that for the youngsters, they like coming back to the mall again. Like, now we're full circle,
And their parents are like, sure, I'll take you there.
Exactly, so if you've got those A-level malls, you're doing great.
Yeah.
But it's the B and C-level malls.
You just have to, make sure that Instagrammable, you have some stuff out there for the kids to take pictures with. All right, we've got a lot more coming up on Bloomberg Intelligence. We're going to check in with Anthony Hughes, our U.S. Equity Capital Markets reporter on SpaceX filing for an IPO. This is New York's only 24-hour source for world markets and breaking business news. Bloomberg 1130. Coming up, the latest market-moving headlines from Bloomberg. First, an update from our partner. CBS News.
CBS News brief. President Trump went to the Supreme Court to hear arguments on his move to limit birthright citizenship. A decision on the case expected in June. President Trump will deliver a fine-sounding speech tonight. This morning on social media, he said Iran has asked for a ceasefire. CBS's Regent Jennings.
Iranian restrictions history have caused gas prices in the U.S. to spike by almost 35% since the war began.
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon, and it'll become tumbling down.
CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano covering the planned launch of NASA's moon mission in Florida. Will this thing launch or not launch because of weather? Let's go through. We've got the downpour winds and big rain showers every day in this area in the afternoon, but typically they do clear by evening. CBS News Brief, I'm Steve Jason.
The news doesn't stop on the weekend, and now neither do we. Join us on Bloomberg This Weekend. Watch and listen to the news show Saturdays and Sundays starting at 7 a.m. on Bloomberg Radio, TV, and the Bloomberg Business app.
Bloomberg Tech returns to San Francisco June 3rd and 4th. Join me, Emily Chang, along with Tom Dial, as we convene the CEOs, investors, and innovators shaping what's next in technology. Powered by Bloomberg's global newsroom and unrivaled terminal data, we'll break down the capital, connectivity, and big ideas driving the industry forward. Be part of the conversation. Register now at BloombergLive.com/tech. That's BloombergLive.com/tech.
Special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correct. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. You know before I can get that for all your auto repair repairs. Call 800-778-6400. Drive Assured Company will not have to pay for covered repairs. This protection plan is at all times running. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle today will also be paid covered benefits, collision coverage, and coverage law, and at no additional cost. Call us for more coverage quotes today. 800-478-6400. That's 800-478-6400.
Some countries hold underground reserves, which have enough water for a few days or a week, but really there is no alternative in most of the Gulf countries.
So Peter, let's get a sense of the history of this technology in the Gulf. What was it like there before desalination? And when did the first desalination plants come online?
Yeah, I mean, the technique has been around for millennia. It's just basically it's the process of removing salt from seawater and making that water drinkable. There were sort of two techniques which dominated for a long time. One was thermal desalination, which I can remember being shown as a kid in elementary school, which is where you heat water, steam evaporates, and you capture the steam. And then another process reverse osmosis, which is now the dominant technology, and the one that's spread all across the world, which is where you use pressure, push the water through membrane, and you remove the salt. So basically, the advent of this technology is right there. There's such a great population. They have
businesses, and I think SpaceX is going to be part of that, and that's obviously adds a growth element to the business as well, but it does probably make the financials not look as good in the short term.
But getting there first.
Yeah, exactly right. So there's been reporting that Elon may be considering kind of rolling up all his stuff.
Yeah.
SpaceX may be acquiring Tesla, for example. X, yeah, he's already done that. What do we know about that? Is Elon said anything about that?
Well, I think there's a lot of speculation about that, but I think what we're seeing here is that SpaceX is going to go public before that happens, most likely. I think there could be a change of plans. You never know, but it doesn't. There does seem to be. There could be some industrial logic in Elon Musk having all of his businesses in one listed entity, but it may be for different reasons because of the way these businesses are developing and the value. Obviously, most companies looking to go public are always trying to maximize valuation and make sure they can have access to capital. The thing about these businesses being so large is they have almost. For all the ups and downs of Tesla over the years, Elon Musk has demonstrated he has unlimited access to capital, and this business is going to have a good access to capital, which is going to allow them to do many things.
Yeah.
That's the benefit of size and scale.
I know that you always look at the banks that get signed on to do this. SpaceX has lined up Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. Basically the 5 biggest growth market firms.
The big 5. So they're going to have dozens and dozens of banks around the world helping them sell this thing. All I know is if I'm buying space, I'm thinking that the shareholder base is going to be a big overlap. People who kind of are in the Elon camp, they already own Tesla. My sense is they're going to be very high crossover there between Tesla and SpaceX. So at some point down the road,
I think it's a reasonable theory.
What's next here? When do we actually get to see some of the numbers, do you think?
So typically what happens is the filing will become public. Typically, there'll be a strategic decision about when that is. But if it's the case that the IPO is on track to actually, the stock's actually on track to debut perhaps in late June, which is get in before the summer.
Why file confidentially then? Why not just make it public?
Well, because confidentiality was originally as it confidentially. It was really for small companies to help, small companies go public, but it's over time it was extended to every company, so it was just something that was available to all companies, so it's something you would use. But in this case, it doesn't matter that much in this situation. Basically what will happen is SpaceX will now be able to go out and start meeting investors, and they'll be able to use information in that filing when they're talking to investors, still in a confidential way that's not really public, but the filing of the document will allow SpaceX to say lots of things to investors that they wouldn't otherwise be able to say. That's our understanding of their legal position there. And it's really, they'll be doing a lot of testing the waters meetings, but the meetings are supposedly starting next week, and so it's really full steam ahead here.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that rubber chicken lunch in Midtown.
Just the numbers involved are so massive. A listing could raise as much as $75 billion. SpaceX would seek a valuation in the IPO of more than $1.75 trillion.
Yep, T with the T. Yeah, trillion with the T, absolutely. So
remarkable.
Crazy.
Anthony Hughes, thank you so much. Anthony Hughes is our equity capital markets reporter here in the U.S. On SpaceX filing confidentially, according to Bloomberg reporting, for an IPO ahead of its rivals OpenAI and Anthropic. More coming up on Bloomberg Intelligence right here on Bloomberg Radio. Bloomberg is now in your dashboard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you want access to every Bloomberg podcast, live audio feed, and headline, it's available at the click of a button by downloading the latest version of the Bloomberg Business app now. Oil prices are declining, but WTI is still holding at around $100 a barrel, and Brent, the global benchmark, at $102. Equities are now higher, gaining for a second day with the S&P up 1%. This is Bloomberg. Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
Scattered showers through the rest of the day. There may be a passing thunderstorm here in the tri-state area where it warms. Highs are 75 to 80. Scattered showers turning cooler tonight, 45. Showers end tomorrow morning. It's mostly cloudy, cool tomorrow afternoon, 45 to 50. Drizzle and fog tomorrow night, lows 40 to 45. Partial clearing, 65 to 70 Friday. I'm Rob Carroll, and with your 3-day forecast on Bloomberg 1130.
The stories that moved markets today. Earnings from the 5 of the Mag 7 this week. And the insight that will shape trading tomorrow.
The AI frenzy has entered a new phase.
The Bloomberg Business Week Daily podcast with Carol Massar and Tim Sinovet. Big Pharma in the news again.
24 companies that you need to have on your radar.
Bloomberg Business Week Daily. Listen live weekday afternoons at 2 on Apple CarPlay or Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app and anywhere you get your podcasts. Bloomberg Radio. Context changes everything. There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... But you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
You're listening to Bloomberg Intelligence with Scarlett Fu and Paul Sweeney on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, Scarlett Fu, Paul Sweeney live here in our Bloomberg Interactive Bloomberg Studio, streaming live on YouTube. I mean, here's our next guest is the analyst with just crazy big numbers. That's all he does. Folks, Mandeep Singh, he runs all the global technology research for Bloomberg Intelligence. We asked him to manage a bunch of people too, and he gets it all done somehow. We've already talked about the SpaceX. $75 billion IPO potential valuation of $1.75 trillion. Crazy numbers. We've never seen that before. And OpenAI has completed a deal to raise $120. The numbers that are being thrown out there in the world of technology. Mandeep, thanks so much for joining us here. Let's start with just SpaceX. We were just talking about this, and you brought up a great point. Space, we have no idea how to value this thing. We have no idea how the business is going to grow. But one thing you did raise is SpaceX's, I guess, biggest customer is the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So now you've got a, kind of a customer risk type thing here, concentration. Do I have to think about, what is the addressable market for space? Do I have to do that exercise?
You can, because right now, given the macro situation, everyone cares about defense, everyone cares about, what's going on in terms of monitoring the risks involved in the airspace. And look, with a name like SpaceX, they clearly have the rocket technology that U.S. government is leaning on, and they are doing it at a cost below the prior attempts that have been made around that technology. So from that perspective, I think what Elon Musk does well is he tries to be the lowest cost provider, whether it's your autonomous car or, in this case, the space technology. And that has worked very well for him,
So if I'm Elon Musk, I got the U.S. government. That's a pretty good customer.
Yeah.
I'd also like to do business with China. Can I do business with China?
That's where I think, as we have seen with EVs, is there are a lot of Chinese EV companies that have popped up, and they're competing on price as well.
Yep.
So from that perspective, given how important this technology is from the standpoint of national security, I would be surprised if they're able to make inroads when it comes to the Chinese market. Yeah.
But presumably it would be in SpaceX's best interest to diversify its customer base away from the U.S. So would I look at it like I would a defense prime contractor, like a Lockheed Martin type of thing? They're happy to sell jets to Germany, but not so much to China. Would that be a similar type scenario?
I think it's too early to think about that sort of a scenario, but I do agree with your broader point that they would look to sell this to more governments. And we have seen that with a company like Palantir.
Okay.
I mean, this is on the software side, a name that really was skewed towards U.S. government business, counterterrorism and that kind of use cases. And that was able to expand quite rapidly, into some of the commercial use cases as well. So I would be curious when they file their S1, what kind of commercial use cases are they looking at? Because there will be, I think, a few big commercial use cases. It's just we can't imagine what those could be, and to size the market around that would be my priority.
But again, a valuation of 1.75 trillion.
Yeah.
So I guess they're profitable? I mean,
they are. I think based on the numbers that have been, surfaced, they're close to 50% EBITDA margins. It is an asset-heavy business, but so is cloud and data centers these days. So, you can't really differentiate on that.
All right, speaking of cloud, data centers, talk to us about this OpenAI. Again, the numbers for, a guy like me, a simple guy, these are just monstrous numbers in the private market to raise these money. So what is OpenAI? What's the strategy of this capital raise?
I mean, everyone is trying to build as much data center capacity as they can, because the business model is, if you have data center gigawatt capacity, that translates into revenue, whether it's 10 billion or 12 billion. So every gigawatt can be translated into token consumption, which is what translates into real revenue. So everyone is trying to raise as much money as possible. And in this case, out of that 122 billion, 50 billion is coming from Amazon and 30 billion is coming from NVIDIA. So the majority of that raise is coming from, two of your hyperscalers, and that's what's most interesting about this raise.
Is there anybody out there credibly saying the industry's building too fast, there's going to be an overcapacity-ish problem?
No, I think right now you still keep hearing we are undersupplied, and undersupplied by at least 20-30%, if you apply your mental models. But no, I don't think we have enough of any of these chips.
Anthropic, OpenAI, I don't know who these, are these all U.S. companies? Where's the rest of the world in all this AI stuff?
So Mistral is a European name that is among that top 10 frontier labs.
Okay.
But when it comes to LLMs, it's really US and Chinese LLMs, which are mostly open source. So they have used a different strategy in terms of the US names being more proprietary. Some of them do have an open source model, but for the most part, Anthropic and OpenAI's leading models are all proprietary. And that's why they're raising this kind of money with the hope nothing gets commoditized. Because if stuff gets commoditized, that's when their investors will have a problem,
All right. Just the analyst who covers the big numbers, that's what we call him these days. Mandeep Singh, head of tech research for Bloomberg Intelligence. For our listeners in the U.S., a reminder, you can listen to us via satellite radio on Sirius XM Channel 121. Access the world's only global audio business network, coast to coast 24 hours a day. Bloomberg Radio on Sirius XM Channel 121 is presented by Golden Crest Metal. Stay tuned for the latest market news and industry research. Your top stories and global business headlines are coming up in just a moment, with markets moving higher. They're at the day's high. S&P up 1.1%, NASDAQ up 1.7%, oil lower. This is Bloomberg.
From the financial capital of the world, broadcasting across the globe, this is WBBR New York, Bloomberg 1130. Now an update from our partners at CBS News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Steve Kathan. President Trump said this morning on social media that Iran has asked for a ceasefire. Iran has denied it, and Trump is making news with additional comments.
I'm Vicki Barker in London. President Trump has told the Telegraph newspaper here that he's seriously considering pulling the USA out of NATO over the allies' reluctance to join the U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, a sentiment he echoed in a separate phone interview with the Reuters news agency. Trump referred to the alliance, co-founded by the U.S. in the ashes of post-war Europe, a paper tiger, and said Russian President Putin sees it that way too.
Well, President Trump has a primetime speech on Iran tonight, a day after saying the war would end in 2 to 3 weeks.
But there is no sign here in the Middle East of the war ending just yet anyway. The sirens rang out multiple times here in Tel Aviv this morning. We were in the bomb shelter, I think 4 times, and Israeli emergency responders say 14 people were injured by missile fire.
That's CBS's Holly Williams. President Trump spent some time at the U.S. Supreme Court listening to arguments on his plan to limit birthright citizenship.
Solicitor General John Sauer argued the 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause was adopted to grant citizenship to freed slaves and their children, not to babies of people in the country illegally.
It has spawned a sprawling industry of birth tourism as uncounted thousands of foreigners from potentially hostile nations have flocked to give birth in the United States in recent decades, creating a whole generation of American citizens abroad with no meaningful ties to the United States.
President Trump is attending today's oral arguments. He's the first sitting president to ever do so. Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Construction on a new ballroom at the White House blocked by a court, at least for now. CBS's Ed O'Keefe.
Despite the court ruling, the ballroom plans are set for final approval Thursday from the National Capital Planning Commission, which has to approve major construction projects in Washington. But D.C. Council Chairman Phil Mendelson, who sits on the panel, worries the president is moving too quickly.
I also get that as a former developer that Donald Trump can be impatient.
It's all systems go at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for NASA's moon launch later today. Our space consultant Bill Harwood.
They're well into fueling right now. They're past the point where we had leaks earlier this year with the hydrogen tank in that first stage, so that is proceeding smoothly. There are no indications of any technical problems at this point.
Hershey says it will use classic recipes for all Reese's products starting next year. The grandson of the Reese's founder had blasted the use of cheaper ingredients. Wall Street, the Dow is up 454 points. This is CBS News.
Every Sunday, moderator Margaret Brennan goes face-to-face with top leaders to make you better informed. Face the Nation, Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
If you turn 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you.
800-768-5180. 800-768-5180. 800-768-5180. That's 800-768-5180.
A newly minted Broadway star has taken ill.
Just a week after making her Broadway debut in Moulin Rouge.
No matter your sin, you're welcome here.
Megan Thee Stallion was rushed off the stage and taken to a New York City hospital after her spokesperson says she became very ill. An entertainment correspondent in the audience posted to X, the rap star appeared in a few opening scenes but stopped mid-show and apologized, explaining she needed to stay inside and seated. Moulin continued with an understudy subbing as the Zidler. No word on what's ailing Megan Thee Stallion. Her hairstylist posted to X, everyone say prayer. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News, New York.
Just days after Tiger Woods' suspected DUI crash in Florida, the golfer says he's taking some time to seek treatment. Woods will miss the upcoming Masters tournament for the second straight year. I'm Steve Kathan, CBS News.
Live from Washington, D.C., this is Balance of Power with Joe Matthew.
Markets are risk on ahead of the president's speech. Welcome to the Wednesday edition. As President Trump prepares to address the nation in prime time this evening, stocks continuing to rally on hopes for an end to the war with Iran. We're going to cover the markets this hour with Bloomberg's Eric Weiner, and we'll get the latest from the administration when we talk to our political panel. Donald Trump today also becoming the first president to attend arguments at the Supreme Court as the High Court considers the constitutionality of his bid to limit birthright citizenship. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall is at the court and will join us live in just a moment. But we start with the markets and the continuation of a powerful rally yesterday.